Hello and welcome back to the Percepta Leadership Series. My name is Carl Puccio. I am the Global Brand and Communications Manager and your co-host here, along with my other co-host, my co-host.
Hey, everybody.
Today we're joined by our VP of Learning, Development, and Delivery, Carl Puccio. We're super excited to have him with us today. For everybody that has been a loyal watcher, listener of the show, we appreciate you and thank you for constantly coming back and checking out our content. Much more to come this year with some really exciting stuff that we're going to be working on. So stay tuned for that. But without further ado, we're going to jump right in. Carl, thanks for joining us on the show today. We're very excited to hear from you. You're new to the Percepta, so we'll dig into that. But before we kind of get on that, why don't you give our audience a little background, who you are, where you come from, what you're doing here at Percepta, your title, all that kind of stuff.
Sure. Well, hello and welcome, and thank you very much, Meredith and Kellen, for the opportunity to connect. Yes, my name is Carl Puccio, and so let's see, I am from the Chicagoland area, just located a few miles away from O'Hare Airport, in a very wooded suburb, as a matter of fact. And I come to Percepta with 14 years of experience in the call center industry, focused on learning, design, and development, and reimagining learning programs for a variety of different clients. In fact, even had a learning design consultancy as well. My whole background, some 30 some years, is in instructional design and development, learning design, complex goal-based scenarios, interactive multimedia back in the day. And so, yeah, and that's a little bit about me.
Awesome. Well, we are looking forward to diving in and talking about all things learning development. And it's so important here at Percepta. It's a very crucial role to everything that happens with our company and our agents and everything. So we're really excited to have you here. So why don't we just get started? You kind of, like I mentioned, I kind of talked about it. You've only been here for a couple months now. And part of that coming on to Percepta is your onboarding experience. So I'd love to hear how that went. If anything kind of stuck out to you that was impressive, informative, anything like that. And in fact, our onboarding program was actually part of our Stevie Awards that we submitted this year. So really, really cool to hear about what your experience was.
Yeah, well, you can tell because it was very thoughtful, and the approach. Oftentimes when I join an organization, it's a bit of a baptism by fire, but that wasn't the case at all here at Percepta. So it was a very thoughtful approach in terms of how I got to meet everybody. Scheduled one-on-one meetings with various parts of the leadership, for instance, just sort of find out what goes on at Percepta, who the client is. The clients are, and the work that's been done, exploration, kind of doing some deep dives and walkthroughs to see what the key problems that have been solved, what they were and how they've been solved, I mean to say. And so all of that's been great. And HR was super helpful in pointing the way forward and just coordinating all of those efforts. So it was very welcoming. As I, learn and still continue to learn, I might add, the culture. And what I have found from that is that people are very hardworking, very welcoming, very driven. They like meetings, or maybe they think they have a lot of meetings. That they might like to reduce some of their meetings, and I'm finding that out as well. But it's a good balance, and it's been really wonderful. I think one of the great things in my first 60 days has been the opportunity to go to one of the sites, our site in Houston, and to meet the operations team there, as well as see the trainers and meet them, see the training rooms. So it's been really a welcoming experience. Meet the clients as well.
Excellent. Yeah, that's great. As a learning and development vice president, somebody that's been in the industry for many years, I'm curious about your approach or best practices that you to ensure that our employees can be successful and retain information? Like, let's go into
Sure.
it.
Sure. So, well, I take a very constructivist approach to learning. I believe that people learn by doing and by reflecting on what they've done. And adults aren't a blank slate. So when they come to a company like Percepta, uh, they're adults. They have prior knowledge that you can build on in the classroom. You know, they have kids or they pay taxes. They've solved a lot of problems in their life. They've been to school, and they have a new job that they're excited about. So we'd like to leverage their prior knowledge and think about how we can create a real memorable and meaningful experience. One that's not necessarily driven by a lot of PowerPoint slides or a ton of lecture, but one that's driven by meaningful and memorable scenarios. And so I'd like to think that we'd be able to structure training against that type of approach, where the tasks would require learners to create a genuine work product, where the tasks would require learners to solve a real world problem. Who's calling in and what are they calling about? And really sort of thinking through what it's like to be in the customer's shoes, to build that genuine empathy, to try to really help the customer in the best possible way by listening and appreciatively understanding what their needs are and all that they've been through, so that we can get them a great solution. So that starts in training, I think, to really set the expectations of what it's like for the job, and allowing learners to work hands-on, to solve cases, and to think about it as sort of content is actually, it's not just about a bunch of topics that you're trying to let people know about, but really it's a learning experience that you're allowing learners to actually engage in, and a meaningful task that then they have to leverage content to help them complete that task, followed by a period of reflection. You know, that's a sense-making moments where people are really putting it all together. They're thinking about their thinking, they're learning about their learning, and that's like, that's what sticks with you. You know, it's not the bullet points that would do that.
Yeah, I love that. I love that you mentioned the real world approach to thinking like a customer, and the focus on using examples. I mean, for me, I'm a visual person, so for me that really like resonates for how I like to learn as well. So I think that's really like realistic in the way of like learning how things work, because there's a lot that happens here. There's a lot that goes on. There's so much to learn. So I think those approaches certainly with me resonate very well. I love it.
And I think the other piece to that too is that it's not just done in isolation, right? Learning is communal. So I love the opportunity for people to work peer to peer and in small groups, and have a time, if they were given a task in the e-learning, that they can come together as a group to talk about what their approach was, and work through similarities and differences, as well as, you know, think about any open questions that exist. Really flip the experience so that you have learners asking questions and being held accountable for what they're learning. And you have a instructor or a subject matter expert who gets to be more of a learning facilitator. They're facilitating the knowledge of the group, and asking great questions, and really facilitating one's own learning experience and assessing what learners are getting through that conversation.
Yeah, that group-based approach, I feel like really cements it in my brain too. So I like that, where you're able to work through it with a colleague or a peer and talk about it together. I feel like that's really gonna, when you come up with that solution or that idea or whatever, it's really gonna like cement it in and help you remember it. So that resonates with me as well. I love it. So, okay, cool. Well, that's awesome. I love it. I think that's really, really great. And I'm really looking forward to seeing all that come together this year. So we talk about all of that. Let's talk about some challenges. What challenges are the L&D teams facing this year?
Oh, wow. Well, challenges are just sort of staying on top of all of the various requests. So for us, we are in the midst of really working hard to stay on top of changing technology, new CRM, which is no small task, and it's a key part of
Nope.
all of the challenges.
Nope.
Key to what an agent does on the job. I think the other thing is that it's not just about learning, design, and delivery, but also our knowledge-based team is making sure that we have up-to-date information that works in 2 CRMs. So that's another focus as well. And not to get all detailed on that either, but it's just making sure that all of our efforts, whether you're working in design, whether you're working in delivery, or whether you're working in the knowledge base, are really focused where the team is coming together to communicate with each other and collaborate with each other and share their best point of view, because each of those teams does hold an answer and does hold a piece of the whole. And so it's getting everybody to sort of work together in harmony to share their best so that the agent can be their best, so that the customer experience can ultimately be the best.
Awesome. Well, that is really, really cool stuff. Sounds like you've got your hands full for 2023. We're really excited to have you here, and I think our agents are gonna really appreciate your leadership style and the things that you have going on. So we're really, really excited to see all that come together this year. So looking forward to it, Carl. Well, thank you. That's about the time that we have. I know these kind of go quick. It's like we just started, but yeah, that's kind of the time that we have. So thank you, Carl, from Meredith and I both, for joining us today and talking a little bit about L&D and learning and development and delivery. There's a lot of things happening, and I know things move quickly around here, and we do a lot of stuff. So we'll consider maybe catching up with you later in the year or beginning of next year again and seeing how things kind of turned out for you. So we'll keep that in mind.
Awesome. I appreciate that.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone that continues to watch our show. Stay tuned. More to come in the leadership series. Hope everybody has a great weekend. Thanks, Carl. Thanks, everybody.
Bye. Thanks, everybody.